Hello and welcome to my C3 combinational circuit video. In this one we're going to be talking about subcircuits and adders. We'll use subcircuits in Logisim for hierarchical design, and we'll design three basic types of adders: a half adder, a full adder, and a 4-bit adder. And so we'll start from the beginning here. Here we have a half adder. And what this does is that it takes the sum of 2 bits, and it returns the sum of those bits as well as the carryout of those bits. And it's 2 bits only, and we'll get into the significance of that in just a minute. But basically, if you think about regular binary addition, if you have, say, 1 plus 0, that's going to sum to 1 and have no carryout. That's basically saying, say that you started on the least significant bit of a binary number, it would just represent the number 1. It would be 1 with a carryout of nothing. But say that you did 1 plus 1, that's going to be summed to 0 and have a carryout of 1. And say that there were no other numbers in that next bit slot. You could read this as 1 and 0 or as 2. This being the most significant bit and this being the least significant bit. But effectively it just sums 2 binary numbers and records the sum and the carryout value. Now for the full adder. What a full adder does is it uses that hierarchical design. It implements that half adder we just created to basically come up with something that can now use 3 binary inputs and sum of those binary inputs. So basically, we can do more complex addition. So before we could do just 2, whether it be 1 and 0 or 1 and 1. In this one, you don't even have to use the third one if you don't want to. So we could pretend that there's just one half adder here, and you could treat it the exact same way. So you could do 1 and 1 is going to have a sum of 0 and a carryout of 1. Either of these will have, if it's in a XOR-like fashion, if it's 1 or 0 or 0 or 1, it'll have a sum of 1 with a carryout of 0. And if it's 0, 0, it'll have a sum of 0 and carryout of 0. However, with the full adder, say hypothetically we have 1 and 1, and there's going to be a carryout. There's going to be a carryout here. Well, or rather, I don't know. Say that was from like the previous bit, and now we're carrying 1 over, and so now our equation looks like 1 plus 1 plus 1. Well, this full adder can handle situations like that. And so it says that 1 plus 1 plus 1 is going to sum to 1 and have a carryout of 1. And say hypothetically that the next part of the binary addition is just 1 plus 0. Well, because the previous binary addition was 1 plus 1 plus 1, and we had a carryout of 1, well, now it's going to be 1 plus 0 plus 1. And so it sort of adds in that a step of binary addition. Now it's only for 1 bit, but it's a little bit more complex now. And before we move on to adder 4, I want to talk about a little bit about how the Logisim subcircuit structure works. Basically, what we can do is say that we have a circuit here, and we want to use this circuit in a more complex circuit. We want to integrate it somehow, like how we have this here. This stands for the half adder. Well, what we can do is we can just not double click, but single click on this adder and drag it in. And now, if I click this down, which I'm not going to because I don't want to ruin the circuit, but if I click this down, it'll add this into my circuit. So then now I can use its functionality in this new circuit. And so you see how we have A and B and C and S here? Well, that's what these are labeled for. So now we can say A and B, and this is my sum, and this is my C out. And so basically it condenses information so that the meta functionality can take precedence over the underlying complexity. It's basically a black box where what we really care about is the meta functionality, not the inner workings of that machinery. And what this does is that it makes things simpler and easier to understand for people. Because if you say that you have a half adder inside of a full adder, and 4 of those full adders are inside this adder 4, and say that you want to do 8-bit addition, so you're going to have 2 of these, eventually that's going to get unbelievably complex. And so we simplify things for ourselves by using subcircuits. And so, yeah. That's why this adder 4 doesn't look like an absolute monstrosity. And which is why we can kind of go over it now. So, okay, so this is an adder 4. What it does is that it adds 4 binary digits. Or rather, it adds 2 4 binary numbers. A being the first one and B being the second one, or you could do B and A. It doesn't really matter because it's addition. The cumulative property says that we can do either or. Rather, that's in algebra, but it still works the same way. So, so this is 4 full adders, and what's special about the adder that adds 4 binary numbers is that it takes the output from the first one, say that this is the least significant bit, and then it adds it as the input of Cin for the next one. So say that we had this value here. It's going to be 1, 1, 0, 0 plus 1, 0, 1, 1. Well, in binary addition, we're going to start from the least significant bit from right to left. And we're going to say, okay, well, 0 and 1 sum together with an input with no carry-in. It'll sum to 1 and it'll carry out 0, which we can see here. Okay, perfect. So we're going to take that 0, and that's going to be, that carry out is going to be the carry in for the next part of the binary addition. And so then it's going to be, well, 0 plus 1 plus 0, 0 plus 1 plus 0 is going to be 1, and it's also going to have a carry out of 0, and so on and so forth. And lastly, that final carry out value is going to represent that 5th bit. Such that if there is a carry out here, it can actually represent the value. So yeah. And then I can show the subcircuit, the implementation of the subcircuit. So say that what did we have? 1, 1, 0, 0. So 1, 1, 0, 0. And 1, 0, 1, 1. 1, 0, 1, 1. With no Cin is 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. Which is 1, 0, 1, 1, 1. So there you go. It works the exact same way. They're all labeled such that we can use them. Same with the on here. Or on the actual subcircuit. And that's how that works. So, and I think I discussed this a little bit earlier, but if we were to not have these subcircuits, and we just had to have everything be made out of half adders, basically, that would. Okay, we can look at this. So there's 1 here. There's 2 here, 2 half adders, plus all these extra wires. There would be 8 half adders here, So imagine in here 8 half adders plus all the wire plus 4 of all of these wires, all strung together. And compare that to what this looks like. That's the significance of subcircuits. They make everything a million times more simple. And yeah, that's pretty much it. A little bit of a more difficult video for me, unfortunately, but I think that getting through everything, I think that I ultimately got through everything. So thank you for watching, and thanks for checking out my website. I'll see you next time.